His name is Jeet Heer. He's an author, journalist, and national affairs correspondent for The Nation magazine. Jeet, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Great to be here.
I do appreciate it. The Nation magazine, is that a liberal magazine?
Yeah, I'd say it's fairly liberal. Started by abolitionists in 1865 and has been on the sort of left end of the spectrum.
So it's worldwide?
It's an American magazine, but we have people who write from it from all over the world. I'm an example. I'm in Canada right now.
Oh,
so
all right.
Have people in in Europe and Asia and elsewhere writing for us.
Yeah, I'm being told right now it started back in 1865.
Being told
during slavery.
You were literally just told.
Right, It was an abolitionist journal.
On air, we saw.
And so you're in Canada. You must be pretty disappointed that they re-elected Trudeau last night or yesterday.
Well, he got a minority government, so I think that it's it'll be good because he'll be able to be held in check. To get anything done, he has to work with the NDP, which is a sort of social democratic party. So I think that's a positive development.
Are you disappointed that they re-elected a man who said that he is a proud feminist?
Well, no, I don't think. I think there's a lot of other problems with Trudeau, but I think that's not one of them. But I wouldn't have wanted. I actually honestly thought he should have maybe resigned after the blackface stuff. So, but yeah.
Why should he have resigned after the blackface stuff?
Because I think that was a very embarrassing kind of thing to do, and he doesn't make Canada look good. And also, he didn't just do it once; he did it like many times. So
embarrassing in what way and for who?
Well, I mean, Canada is like Canada's a multicultural country. It has like lots of people, who are not white like myself. And for us to see our prime minister, when he was an adult man, when he was 31 years old, blackening up his face and making using this sort of minstrel show comedy that's kind of based on making fun of people of color.
Quick side note. I do. Now that I'm like in my early 30s, this really started in my late 20s, but like people who get caught for embarrassing things and they're like 48 or something. And it's like, oh, that was a long time ago. Like I said that in my late 20s or early 30s. I feel like when I was still a kid, I kind of could buy it, like when I was really young, but now I'm like in my early 30s, like I'm a grown ass man. Like I feel like if I do something, like I feel like you should be held account if it's like,
yeah, your brain has been developed. Like
I mean, I had my early 30s, I don't know. I mean, like I'd finished my PhD, full-time job.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, it was. Someone pulled out a Bill Simmons article where he's saying crazy shit, and they're like the man was 40 years old at the time. It's more about the time period than the age. I think that's really what. But I think Trudeau probably knew that blackface was.
I'm pretty sure that he knew that people found that shocking. I would imagine that was part of the point, right? Like that's like, oh, look at me, I'm willing to do this like risque thing.
Yeah. But
I always thought that was fucking hilarious that it's like, I mean, Trudeau built so much of his brand on this like kind of performative wokeness. And then it turned out he'd like done blackface like 20 times and everybody's like, yeah, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, I actually, for once, I actually think you could like, it's like, no, we can actually judge him for this. Like, this is actually pretty extreme. But in any case, yeah, it is amazing that Jesse Lee Peterson is so committed to his role here that he's actually defending Justin Trudeau. Like,
yeah. I can't. Jeet has like, this is just such a good comedy sketch because he has so much goodwill and just will not like But I know he's gonna break. I know he's gonna break.
Yeah, because so far, I don't know. Actually, I should ask him. I don't know if he came into this cold, like not knowing what kind of interview he's going to have, which is, definitely my experience on Jesse Lee Peterson and whatever that was, 2019. That like I'd gotten like I got an email from his producer who described who Jesse Lee Peterson was in a very, very misleading way. And I'd never heard of him, right? But I was just like, I was doing, like 10 interviews a week to promote the book. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, right? And then I mentioned that on TMBS the night before that I was going to do the Jesse Lee Peterson thing the next day. And everybody kind of starts laughing. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. I was like, oh, okay. So I looked up his Wikipedia page. I saw like a bunch of crazy right-wing positions. I was like, okay, well, it'll be a hostile interview, but I've had hostile interviews before. That's not a big deal. No fucking idea, right? Like, so that's like what I was getting. Like that, like in my mind, it was going to be like this guy who has a right-wing perspective is going to ask me some like tough questions and like maybe like they will be interrupting each other and stuff. And like I show up and he's asking me questions like, do I love black people?
And then he like starts screaming beta at you. Beta! Beta!
Why is beta? Yeah.
That's a great bit. That is a really good bit. I honestly, yeah.
But like, so I don't know if it's that or if Jeet is just like strategically decided that like the best way to play this off is just to pretend that he thinks he's in a normal interview.
Yeah,
it actually is really good on a sketch comedy level. He's just giving completely normal answers. Like
he's such a like pleasant, intelligent man. Let's see what happens.
That doesn't look good.
Are you Canadian or American?
Canadian.
Canadian. Oh, and so you people don't have black faces walking around town?
We have many people with black faces, but the idea of a white person putting on makeup to look like a brown person or a black person, usually that's associated with the kind of tradition of comedy of making fun of black and brown people.
That's not true. That's a compliment. Obama would not have endorsed this guy had he thought the blackface thing was a negative thing, right?
I think Obama endorsed him because he shares Trudeau's politics.
He didn't care about the blackface?
I think a lot of people obviously Trudeau got reelected, so a lot of people were able to overlook it. Just as in Virginia, Ralph Northam, a lot of people were willing to overlook it because they prefer him on other reasons. But I think for myself personally, I don't think it's a good thing for white politicians to go around doing minstrel shows.
How about if a black person, a black president did a white face? Would that be a big deal then?
There's only been one black president, and he didn't do a white face, and the sort of social context is completely different. The whole history of blackface. I mean, if you look at the history of blackface in America and in Canada, it was like associated with minstrel shows. It was associated with making fun of and demeaning people of color, and so I mean, there's a history there.
But that's really not true. It's only by those blacks who hate white people who made it a big deal because they want to destroy white people. Normal black people don't see that as a problem. Did you know that?
I don't think that's absolutely the case, because the actual history of blackface is that it was the opposition to it was led by groups like the NAACP. But
the NAACP is no good. It's a radical, far left liberal, radical organization that it uses black people for personal gain, political gain.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to completely categorically reject that.
Why? I'm black. Did you know I'm black?
This organization, which was founded by W.B. Du Bois and other civil rights activists at a time when countless black, when lynching was common, when Jim Crow was common, this was an organization that fought those things, and it also fought minstrel shows.
But it wasn't founded by.
Let's leave aside blackface. he also did brownface. And there's a tradition of white people like Peter Sellers in the movie The Party, putting on makeup to look like Indians, like myself, and making fun of the Indian accent. And I don't think that's good. And that's what Trudeau did. He made himself look like Aladdin. And so
But the NAACP wasn't founded by black people. It was founded by a white woman.
That's actually categorically untrue.
No, that's not. Hey, that's not. It was founded by a white woman.
W.E.B. Du Bois was not a white woman.
But but the white woman founded it. He jumped on board. And by the way, W. Du Bois hated America. He eventually denounced his citizenship, moved to Africa somewhere, and thankfully he died over there. He was a traitor to America.
He was a man who fought his entire life for equality and for freedom, and he was spied on by the government and mistreated by the government. And so the decisions that he made in his 90s, I don't know, man.
But he was a communist. He was pure evil.
If you think Du Bois is evil, we have nothing to talk about. I don't think a man who first of all was the first Black person to get a PhD in Harvard, did incredible scholarship, incredible work, and I'm sorry, what are we talking about here? What's the point of this conversation? I don't want to.
So are you an Indian?
I'm Indian, yes.
But I thought you said you were white.
I didn't say I was white.
You said white like me.
I didn't say that. I'm not sure what.
He said people who aren't white like me.
Didn't he say white like me? Oh, so you're Indian. Maybe I misunderstood. It's not a big deal. I said I'm Indian, and I said if the white people like Peter Sellers in the movie The Party, dress up.
Oh, he said. Wait. So what did he say?
So he said dress. He said there are lots of people in Canada who are not white like me, right? So it's like it legitimately was.
Oh, not white like me.
Yeah, the syntax is I guess what happened there, although also there are some visual. Anyway, doesn't matter.
He also claimed to be Indian.
Yeah.
Yes,
but I do like the fact that Jesse Lee Peterson did have to add on. I'm black.
I mean, look, the man is committed to the bit.
So I guess he's referring to Mary White Ovington as one of she's
one of the founders. Basically, when the NAACP formed, it formed out of a more radical group that was only funded by Black people, only funded and run by Black people, and they realized in the collapse of that group that there just wasn't enough money to do what needed to be done. So they were opened up membership and allowed white people to kind of who believed in the cause to donate to it, and that was partly how the NAACP got lifted off was by white money kind of coming in to seed the organization.
So that's the talking point he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean it's not yeah, I mean, there's a group of people who founded it. I mean, there was
the Niagara Movement was the documentary that came out last year. I was at the premiere and got to talk with the director and several of the people involved with it at a premiere in Northampton, right around the corner from where I lived.
Also,
Yeah, so you can go on PBS and actually watch that and see the history about it, and it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, also okay, I mean, if during Jim Crow, most people who were talking about, who were campaigning against the evils of that system and all that were Black, but some of them were white and. What are we talking about here? It's yes, that's it's let's say for the sake of argument that this white woman was in some sense the original founder of the NAACP. good for her. I mean, I don't know what follows from that.
Yeah, he sort of does a lot of these like identity politics moves, but I mean, it's kind of stupid to analyze what he's saying. Should we?
This is very, very true. But yeah, let's keep going.
Like Indians that do the Indian accent, I don't actually see that as being like an acceptable or friendly kind of thing, because historically it has not been.
Are you a liberal?
No.
Are you conservative?
No.
What are you?
I'm a social democrat.
You're a socialist?
Social democrat.
What's that?
Like Bernie Sanders. I'm like Bernie Sanders.
Oh, I got you. And so, what do you think of Hillary Clinton going after?
I do like the genuine curiosity for a second. He's like, oh, so what are you?
There's only two things to believe in.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard. Are you familiar with that?
I'm very familiar with that. Yeah,
what do you think about crooked Hillary doing that?
I think that's very. I think it was very bad on a number of fronts. One of which is she shouldn't be intervening in the sort of ongoing primaries. I think that she made an accusation without evidence. But I think what Bernie Sanders says today, like, Tulsi Gabbard is someone who served her country. She signed up, like in 2004, went to Iraq, served in a combat zone, is still in the army, still doing military service. And for someone to make an accusation that she's a Russian asset, which is what Hillary Clinton said, right. I think that's unacceptable.
Were you surprised when Hillary said that?
No, I was not. This is previously there had been an article in the New York Times which quoted some Hillary Clinton advisors who had said something very similar. So this is clearly something that was coming out of Hillary's orbit, and there are people around her who think in that way.
What do you think about the craziness of the Democratic Party right now? They are insane. They're going after the Great White Hope. They have not done anything for the voters or for America, and they're just insane. What do you think about this insanity of the Democratic Party right now?
Well, I think that there's a different strands within the party. I think there's definitely people like Hillary Clinton that are already overplaying the Russian stuff. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that the party as a whole is insane. And on the Tulsi Gabbard thing, I'll notice that like Bernie Sanders, Beto O'Rourke, and Pete Buttigieg all supported Gabbard and said that these remarks have no basis in fact.
Right. Speaking of Beto O'Rourke, he wanted to take the guns away from Americans, even if it requires going door to door. What do you think about that?
I support gun control. I mean, I live in Canada where we have far less gun violence, where people like leave their doors unlocked because we live in a society that has good gun regulations. I think it's great. I think it'd be amazing if America, I don't think it's practical just because I think there's more guns in America than there are people. So I think it's going to be, as a practical matter, I think it's not something you could easily do.
So you support taking away the Second Amendment from the Americans?
Sure.
Don't you ever move here.
Huh?
Don't move to America with that idea. Make sure you don't come here.
Most Americans support gun control. The vast majority of people support, if you look at polling, 80%. And the thing is, the Second Amendment.
That's not true.
What?
Most Americans do not support gun control.
Most Americans support like far more gun control than currently exists. They would like things like background checks. I think Beto's proposal just doesn't make a lot of sense because I don't think it's practical, and I don't think you would get support for that. But like a lot more gun regulations than exist now, sure. And as for the Second Amendment, the Constitution is like, it's a document, and the people who wrote it said that, like, we're imperfect and you might have to change it. Jefferson said there should be a new constitution every 20 years. And
that's not going to happen.
The Constitution was written. It was like, women couldn't vote. There was like slavery, and the people who wrote the Constitution, many of them were slave owners. But you can actually have constitutional amendments. So if there's a constitutional amendment to get rid of the Second Amendment, then like why not?
That's amazing. That's not going to happen, buddy.
No, I don't think it's practical. I don't think it's practical politics, but I'm just making the philosophical point. Like, why not get rid of the Second Amendment?
According to Reuters, homicide rates in Canada are very similar to the USA and practically the same. If the Canadian had a right to guns to defend himself, would the homicide rates be the same as it is in the USA?
First of all, I don't actually think that's true.
So you think Reuters is lying?
Well, I don't have like the document in front of me, and like every statistic I've ever seen. And look, I lived in Toronto, which is a city of 3 million people, and the usual number of murders per year is like 60 to 70 murders a year. You go to any other American city that has 3 million people, or even less than 3 million people, you're not going to get 60 murders a year. That's just absolutely, like, categorically untrue.
In spite of so-called gun control in Canada, violence is still happening there with guns. It's still happening. They're using knives. They're using other ways to.
Not just guns, but also suicide. The American suicide rate is huge by world standards. I mean, there's the only other places you could have like more violence are countries that are like on the verge of civil war, as in some of the. But America, it has a lot of guns and is historically like a very violent society, in part because of thank you Second Amendment, thank you slave owning.
Okay, I do want to say
the Constitution.
You've been
what one quick thing here, which is I'm falling back into the temptation actually to like actually like think about the substance of what Jesse Peterson is saying, which I know is kind of, you know, a weird exercise. Okay, one, they still have guns in Canada, right?
Yeah,
lots of Canadians own guns, right?
Yeah. Canada is a large hunting country.
Yeah, totally, right? Like there's lots of guns in Canada. They have more gun regulations in Canada than they have in the U.S., right? But that's consistent with there being lots of Canadians who own guns. So it's like when he's like, well, there is still gun crime in Canada. It's like, yeah, sure, man. It's like lots of Canadians own guns. It's just like, you know, they just, you know, regulate it more and keep better track of it there than they do here. But also, like, yeah, okay. I mean, that what you're saying would be true if there was like at least one crime in Canada, you know, per year that was committed with a gun. The question is, do they have more or less gun crime per capita than the United States, right? I mean, that's surely the issue here.
Yeah, and I don't know what he was citing because I'm seeing 6.3 cases per 100,000.
Are you on Reuters?
Reuters, and then it seems like 3 times as much in America.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
Yeah, that definitely sounds about right. Like,
the other thing too, I find hilarious is the whole Hillary Clinton Tulsi Gabbard thing. I actually am friends with the guy who kind of got the whole thing started by accident because he was having a manic episode while working for RT and just thought he could become friends with Tulsi Gabbard by donating to her campaign. And so he like in this manic episode donated like all the money he had, maxed out his credit cards, became friends with Tulsi Gabbard's mom during this whole ordeal, gets fired from his job because he wasn't working because he was doing this manic episode thing, and ended up having to like eventually like got the help he needed. You know, he had to move back home for a while, you know, pay off the credit card debt that he racked up and whatnot. And but it is kind of a hilarious story to actually, you know, to hear him tell it because you know, he has a good laugh about it. But he's now advocating. He doesn't do anything with politics, but he now does do a lot of advocating for people to make sure that their taking their pills and that they're staying medicated if they need it. So,
wow.
Yeah. Which is
so
crazy.
Yeah.
You know this person?
Yeah. I've done artwork for him for his comedy tour a few years ago. Absolute sweet guy.
Yeah. No, it's no. Yeah. No
I just also note, right? So I saw Jemt in the chats, and they have less gun bans in Canada than the U.S. So I'm sure there are lots of different ways of comparing American and Canadian gun laws, but like I do know, for example, I was just looking some of this up to make sure I'm not saying anything wrong. That like in Canada, U.S. there's like a huge amount of state by state variation in gun laws, right? Because it's largely handled at that level. In Canada, a lot more of it's federal. And they have a lot more like, you don't have to register every kind of gun, but I know there's like a lot more, like registration to keep track of it. Also, part of Canada's federal process for obtaining a firearm license, I'm reading here, is taking a safety course. So, that's like, which again goes to Jeet's point that like there is, without even, and look, I'll just own it, right? Like for whatever part of the audience, doesn't like this, right? They have I'm pretty much a lib on gun stuff, right? Like I think that I think that right now it's like way too unregulated in the US, but
Ben, I'm not inviting you to my National Socialist rifle club meeting that I'm going to have at my apartment with my buddies from Bushwick in Brooklyn, where we're gonna load up on guns to fight the cops and the military industrial complex.
Yeah, I might leave the word national out of that description, but that's
kind of a Freudian slip, but also kind of what I think about these rifle clubs. Anyway,
maybe say federal or something, right? But that's.
Or the guy who
nationwide works.
The nationwide.
Who was that guy who like tried to free the slaves with through violence? Was John something?
John Brown.
John Brown. Yeah, John Brown Gun Club. That's what you're having, right?
Yeah,
is your local John Brown Gun Club.
Yeah, I mean this was I'm
real organization, by the way.
I know. I don't look. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell people. I'm sorry. I just don't. I've been on the left for my entire adult life. I've met a lot of leftists. I do not like our chances in an armed confrontation with the American state. But yeah, I mean, I think that they're. Sorry, just look at the chat. I do. So yeah, look, I'm a total lib about this stuff. I think that guns should be more regulated for pretty straightforward safety reasons. But I think that like it's I think that it's possible that we don't actually have to live in a society where we have like school shootings every 2 weeks. But but whatever you think about that, right? I mean, like just on the dialectic between Jeet and Jesse Lee here, like, the very simple point that I think Jeet's politely trying to make is that there are options besides like having as much of a free-for-all as we have in the US and like, banning all personal gun ownership and like going around house to house, confiscating everybody's like hunting rifle and all of that stuff, right? I mean, there are like a wide range of regimes of how restricted or loose, gun laws could be. And, we could probably stand to, restrict ours quite a bit, to bring it closer into line with the less insane countries. But anyway, you could report me to the next nationwide
socialist rifle club. But real quick though, I do have to say in Jesse's favor, people are talking about how good Google is getting recently. How Google is improving its quality. It's probably reading backwards, but I'm just for proof. The top Google results is telling me U.S. murder homicide rate for 2022 was 0.00, 100% decline from 2021. That's what it says in like the big letters on top is 0.00. You know, not that that's the type of thing.
If we've got a 0.00 rate of homicides, then I withdraw everything I just said.
Yeah, not that like that's like maybe one of the top things somebody might Google. You know what I mean? Like, of just all things to Google, like gun rates in terms of like political discussion, like murder rates. It's now Google is telling me that it's 0.0.
Algorithm might have might need some work there.
All right, yeah, we could get started. Yeah, Justin, it was really great with me and my other comrades featured in Harper's. Yeah, and the name change was probably a good idea. All right, let's see.
Read the raw history of America.
Wow, I'm sorry.
I grew up on a plantation. I was born there in Alabama. Have you ever heard of Alabama?
I've heard of Alabama, yes.
I grew up on a plantation there. I was born there and grew up on it. I grew up under the Jim Crow laws, and none of what you said and think about slavery is true. You've been lied to.
Well, what's the truth about slavery? You tell me the truth.
It wasn't as bad as the black race hustle liberals and the white race hustle liberals are telling you that. They're saying that in order to control the people, to keep them angry. Blacks were, matter of fact,
the people were looked after?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, blacks were more moral. They got married. They raised their families. Black people were better off under slavery than they are free people.
I'll just point out a couple of facts, which is one is that actually under slavery, blacks were not allowed to get married.
That's not true. They did. They dropped the broom sometimes.
Because if they were allowed to get married, they would not be allowed to be sold and separated, which was
that's not true. Hey, that's not true.
I'm sorry, but listen, I don't know where you're getting this stuff from, man. You're and also they were not like it was actually illegal.
Where are you getting your stuff from? Where are you getting your information from?
Well, I'll cite, for example, historian Eugene Genovese.
Those people are insane. You believe in liars.
These are like people who write history books. You mentioned Du Bois earlier. He was a great historian, and
he was a big liar. He was a communist.
I'm sorry. I just I don't know what to do with someone who thinks that slavery was great. I don't think we have. I think we should actually. I don't know if there's any point in continuing this conversation.
Let me ask you this: do you believe that we have a immigration crisis in America today?
Oh no! I mean that's BS.
Really? Why do you say it's BS?
Because America is, first of all, unless you're a native, are you like unless you're a Native American, you're like the child of immigrants, so the whole country was built on immigrants.
Amazing. Do you agree with me that Canada need a wall to stop the immigrants from coming in?
Canada?
Uh-huh.
No.
How about all the outlaw people who are coming to Canada, who are going to Canada? Do they need to be stopped?
Which people? Who are they?
The outlaw people, the Muslims.
There's lots of Muslims here. I have like Muslim like neighbors. There's a lot of Muslims already in Canada. There've been Muslims in Canada for many years. There have been Muslims in the United States for many years, including.
I know, but that's a problem.
Huh?
That's a problem.
No, there were Muslims in America since the earliest days of almost European settlement, like going back to the 17th century.
I kind of have to say, Jeet is like
actually, I mean, if you talk
kind of dog walking him.
The Constitution, has a separation of churches.
He's doing pretty good. Because if someone asked me to challenge me on whether slavery was bad and said, "What are my sources?" I couldn't think of one fucking thing to say. I would just be like I couldn't think of like a specific, but the fact he starts referencing certain historians is pretty good.
No, yeah, it's like, oh well, what about Eugene Genovese?
That was really because what is he gonna say?
That's a crazy person.
Yeah.
Well, it's too bad. Eugene Genovese, I believe, actually, I think actually became right wing later on, but he was definitely a Marxist originally. So it's too bad that Jesse Lee Peterson doesn't know that. So you couldn't be like, well, he was a big liar.
He actually became conservative later. What if Jeet would have been pretty fucking taken aback if he knew who Eugene Genovese was, and then like accurately said like, you know, he took a right wing turn later in his life. Although maybe not a slavery is good right wing turn.
No, I probably not. I don't. You know, I'm not a. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know a ton about Eugene Genovese, but I would be surprised if he went that far. I always think of there's a. Did you ever watch Father Ted, the TV show?
I don't think I've heard. I remember it being on, but no.
Okay, so there's an episode. It's like set in this like desolate island off of Ireland where, you know, these like basically bad priests get sent, you know, as like their, like the parish they're assigned as a punishment. And there's an episode where the title character is like befriended this guy in town. And then he goes into this like older guy, and he like goes into his house, and it's just full of like Nazi insignias and, you know, and Nazi flags and stuff. And he's just like standing there trying to like come up with something polite to say. It's like, well, they do say you become more conservative when you get older. So, you know, so yeah, I don't know if Eugene Genovese got that much more conservative, but yeah, no, he's doing really well. I mean, like, and it's like fun how game he is here. It's like, well, I'm not sure what to say once you get to the point where you're going to say slavery is okay. We might have run out of things to say to each other, but sure, run it by me, right? Like,
yeah, tell me. Yeah. He did pretty good. All right, let's finish.
And
that's not in the Constitution. Separation of church and state is not a part of the Constitution.
The First Amendment.
Amendment. Right. But listen,
and the founders of the Constitution, including Washington and Jefferson, said, America should be able to. America is not a Christian nation.
That's not true. It is a Christian nation. Hey, America is a Christian nation, man.
Huh?
America is a Christian nation.
Legally speaking, like legally in the Constitution.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. The whole point of the First Amendment, and as it's backed up by actual statements in the letters and documents of people like Jefferson and Washington, is that America is has a separation of church and state, is a secular nation, and anyone can become an American citizen, whether you're a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or an atheist. Or,
let me ask you this, because of time. Let me ask.
Religion, as many Americans have done.
Jeet, let me ask. Are you a Christian?
I don't think that's pertinent to anything, really.
Are you a Christian?
Well, who's a Christian? What's a Christian? Are you a Christian? You want to build a wall against immigrants, because the Bible explicitly says that part of the duty of believers is to look after migrants,
but not the illegal aliens, though.
Bible, which was validated and vindicated by the New Testament.
Jeet, are you a Christian?
Why? No. Well, but why is that relevant?
Because it has a lot to do with the way you think about things. If you're not a Christian, then you're against them. Are you a Christian?
Then you're against them.
I'm not here. I don't want to talk like, I don't think what I'm saying is true whether I'm a Christian or not.
So, are you a Christian?
Are you a Christian?
Yes.
I don't think you're a Christian.
I love being a Christian.
Huh?
It's a
I don't think you're a Christian.
it's a blessing to be a Christian.
The anti-immigrant policies. I don't think you can be a Christian. You cannot be a Christian and follow the teaching of the gospel.
Well, it's apparent. Yeah. It's apparent that you're not a Christian.
Why am I not a Christian?
Because you don't love what's right. And you're misquoting the Bible. So
the Bible does not say that you have to provide succor to refugees.
Let me ask, does it bother you that Muslims are anti-freedom, anti-Christian, and anti-Jew? Jew? How do you say it? Judaism. They hate Semitism. Does it bother you that the Muslims hate the Christians?
So I don't think that's a true statement.
It is true. They hate the Christians and the Jews, and they are anti-freedom. That's why they're trying to come here, because they want to set up the same shop.
Who perpetrated the Holocaust?
The Muslims.
Or was it Christians?
The Muslim.
The Muslims perpetrated the Holocaust in Europe?
Yes.
There we go.
Oh, I'm glad you agree.
So the National Socialist Party of Germany was.
Did you know that Hitler worked for the Muslims?
Hitler worked for the Muslims.
He worked with the Muslims. He worked with them.
I think we should really.
Does he think they're cows?
That in and of itself is like maybe a good point to end this, because I think that is such an absurd statement.
But you misquoted the Bible was an absurd statement.
What?
You misquoted the Bible.
Where did I misquote the Bible?
By talking about the illegal aliens and that we're supposed to take care of them. We're not supposed to take care of them.
No, that is very much in the Bible.
No, it's not.
If the strangers among you, you have an obligation.
They are not strangers. They're invaders.
Invaders implies like an army and military invaders. These are poor people who are coming. There's absolutely a Christian duty, which is not just affirmed like in the Bible, but by like Christian teaching throughout the ages, to look after the poor, to look after refugees.
Amazing.
To give Christianity credit.
Jeet, were you born in Canada or India?
I was born in India.
Do they know you think this way in Canada?
Oh, they do very much. Yes, I'm very popular in Canada.
You should not let them know. They're going to ship you back to India. Gee, thank you so much, man. I enjoyed talking to you. All right, have a good one. All right. I got to take a break, folks. Back in a moment.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I've seen several Jesse Lee Peterson interviews. That might actually be my favorite now.
Yeah, it holds up the second time through.
It's just such a good combination of Jeet taking it, being pretty unruffled, but also like taking it as like played it as straight as he possibly can. Just like, yeah, okay. Well, I don't think that's true. I mean, like, Eugene Genovese,
Yeah, I do like what it did, a subtle shift, and I think Jeet was sort of getting a kick out of it toward the end, and that was enjoyable to see. I think he won the debate, I think.
No, I think it didn't give up any ground, but also seemed like much more amused than like rattled by it. I don't. That was kind of amazing. Like he had also like one thing I could say about Jesse Lee Peterson is that he does not budge from anything, and in the moment he is willing to say like literally anything. Like it's like so Jesse, the National Socialist German Workers' Party was made up of Muslims? Yes. You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with Don't be foolish.